Thanks everyone for joining us. We have a pretty straightforward agenda tonight. Start with our council activity report. It's been a busy couple of weeks on my end. After our last council meeting, I had a meeting with Jennifer and Tarek where we talked about some scheduling things, which are on the agenda later. Met with Ron Mergen and Tarek. We all met with AMPI on that ongoing issue, which we'll be discussing in a closed session later once Bill Spooner gets in here. Again, met with Jennifer and Tarek and Bill Spooner regarding the zoning ordinance, and that's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. We're hoping to schedule a joint planning board meeting and hopefully get the zoning ordinance revised and brought up to 2022 standards. Tarek and I went to the Highway 23 Coalition meeting last Friday. I heard about what they're up to. That's the group that is advocating for a Highway 23 expansion. Nothing too interesting from there as far as construction goes. There's going to be an open house at Roadside Tavern on April 6th from 4 to 6. So if anyone wants to learn more about the construction project, that would be the place to go. And then today, Bill Ludwig and I were down at the Capitol. Bill is still there talking about municipal liquor issues. Met with Representative Damuth. Bill was hoping to meet with Senator Howe this evening at the reception. She was very receptive to the municipal liquor issues and supporting our liquor store, which of course we use to keep our tax levy down. Finally, Tarek and I sat down for a very nice meeting with Doris and her family regarding the food truck ordinance, talked about some of the concerns that were had there, along with some other things. And one thing that I just want to talk about, when I first started as mayor at our first meeting, I talked about how our words matter and they make a difference because sometimes our words are all we can do. And at the last council meeting, there were some things said that I don't believe had any harmful intent, but were perceived in a way that was very hurtful. They came across that way, despite the fact that they weren't intended to do so. So we should just be cognizant of the fact that, you know, our words have meanings that we don't always intend. And on behalf of the council, if anyone was offended by some things that were said in a good-hearted nature, that we are sorry and that we will pay closer attention and work to do better in the future. Certainly we do support all of our local businesses and want to see everyone thrive in the community. So with that, that's all I have for my report. Look down to Neil.
I guess I didn't have anything.
Okay.
Easy 2 weeks.
All right, Megan.
The only official meeting I had was for EDAP, and that was canceled due to lack of a quorum, so it was easy 2 weeks for me as well.
But you were here.
I was here.
Yep.
Three of us.
Yep.
Yeah,
And Tarek.
we were so close.
Gene.
Oh, I had my meetings. I was at the EDAP that was canceled, or, well, we were here for a half hour. And then a liquor board meeting, and then a joint planning meeting with the township.
Paul.
I also have nothing to report.
Our department head reports. Mr. Mergen.
Okay, thank you. First of all, spring cleanup and the household hazardous waste, that will take place on April the 30th, again, up at the Township Hall, the same as last year. Hydrant flushing is scheduled for April 20th and the 21st. In your informational packet, there's a letter in there from an insurance company that went through the Public Works, and that is something we do not support or endorse by any means. That is just a company out trying to solicit and sell insurance. Just want to make that clear. As soon as it warms up, crews will be out sweeping streets. Park reservations, I think we have almost 20 of them this year, so the pace is quite a ways ahead of last year, which is great to see. Safe routes to school, I think our next meeting is April the 13th. The monitoring wells up at the Midtown gas station have been sampled, so we will be getting that verified in the next, usually it takes about 6 weeks to get results. And then the downtown planters, last year they were planted by the landscaping class and Natalie Utsch out there, and that has been requested again. and I would strongly support that. They did a wonderful job, I believe, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Ron? Okay, Tarek.
All right, well, yeah, we did have a couple of shared meetings here. The zoning ordinance with Bill Spooner, Jennifer Welling, and Sean, that was last week. We also had the fire and police meeting with Chief Wagner and Andy Soini, Fire Chief. And also with Gene, it was the Special Joint Planning Board at the township. And of course, EDAP, we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't continue with that. The AMPI meeting with Sean as well, along with the Highway 23. And also last week, I was out at the MCOFA conference or convention in St. Cloud, along with Jennifer Welling and Belinda Ludwig. So that's what I have.
Any questions for Tarek? Okay. Right, so then we have our open forum. This is the opportunity for anyone wishing to address the council on any issues to do so at this time. Anyone who wants to talk, we ask that you approach the microphone, just state your name and your connection to the community. We have 10 minutes. If anyone wants to talk, we'll divide it between those who are here and want to talk to us. This is the opportunity for anyone to speak with us and address the council. Public comment may or may not be heard during other topics on the agenda this evening. I know in the past we've done that, but I'm not anticipating any public comments during other agenda items tonight, so. We'll move on to the adoption of our consent agenda. That includes the minutes listed there on page 1, vouchers found on page 2, which total, back to that point, $237,505.30. The fire department fire school listed on page 3, and the sanitation licenses on page 5. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve with a correction on page 5. I believe we have the last year's dates. Shouldn't that be 22 and 23?
That is what's on there, isn't it?
Well, I will double check with Belinda.
Because we're in year 22. With that correction, I'll move to approve.
I have a motion by Hertzberg to approve the consent agenda with the understanding that the refuse licenses are for 22-23. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Soini. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. All right. New business. We have a parade permit application by the FFA. Looking to hold a tractor classic car parade on Wednesday, April 13th, or a backup day of May 4th at 2:30. Just a note that they'll work with the police department on an escort. We've done this in the years before, and I don't think it's ever been an issue. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve the parade permit.
I'll make the motion to approve the Painesville FFA Tractor Classic Car Parade Wednesday, April 13th, 2022, inclement weather day, May 4th, 22, at 2:30. I know the seniors at the manor especially enjoy this.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Brick, to approve the parade permit as stated on the action sheet. Any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? That carries. Looking to set some special city council dates. We've talked about a special working session, a joint planning board meeting for the zoning ordinance, a council retreat. Jennifer and I sat down with Tarek, looked at the calendars. At the time we talked, it worked for a joint city and planning board meeting on April 18th, but now I'm wondering if we can change that. I was notified I might have to be down in St. Paul on that day for another commitment. I also don't want to screw up the schedule of the whole planning board.
I was gonna say, isn't that normal planning?
It is.
meeting?
Yep.
Possible other dates in April include April 5th, April 6th, and April 28th. That's it.
I think let's move forward as it is on here, since that's the regularly scheduled planning board time. And if I can't get out of having to go to St. Paul, then we can look at rescheduling it, our first meeting in April. But let's get it set for right now. Paul?
Just so you guys know, the 27th, I'm actually out of town. So for the retreat, I won't be here.
Okay. That was Tara about things that you want to address? Okay.
That's fine.
So we have a number of dates on there. If those work for everyone, we'd be looking for some motions to approve them. We can certainly talk some more about what's going on, but I think these are all things that we've discussed at least at one point or another in the past. We'd be looking for a motion to set either individually or somebody can just state on the action sheet, whatever we need to do.
I'll make the motion that we approve these special city council meetings as listed.
Okay.
A second.
I have a motion by Soini, seconded by Thielen, to set the special city council meetings as listed on the action sheet. Any further discussion on those? None. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. That carries. Okay. Kateri's here from the library to give us an annual report.
What's that for now?
Thank you.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Kateri Gruber, the Library Services Coordinator for the Painesville Public Library. And I just want to say thanks for letting me come up and talk to you guys. This is something that usually the coordinators do once a year for the City Council, just to let you know how things have been going, some of our successes, and what we're looking forward to. So it's been a couple years, so I'll try to keep it short because I know you guys have some other important stuff to talk to about, but wanted to share some exciting stuff. So one of our big focuses for the last couple years have really been accessibility, obviously. It's always a key component for libraries, but especially in the last year, it gave us some opportunities to see where we needed some expansion and some new opportunities. And this is part of Great River Regional Libraries plans and also our local Painesville plans. So we could see, for like Great River, I'm talking, if you have this sheet in your packet or whatever, some of the numbers on there. One of the things we introduced in 2020 were e-cards that patrons could sign up for and online and use our digital databases and digital library. And so you can see the numbers on there. We currently have like around 13,000 active users. I did want to compare that to our 2019 statistics, which were about 4,300 users. So there was a huge bump in cards that we were able to roll out like that. We also have, because we had such online use, we focused on adding our digital content and also including another streaming services, Hoopla, that included movie and CDs for streaming. And so this is the fun digital checkouts we had were like 270,000, and for 2019, the comparable was 15,000. So there was a huge amount of online interaction going on there, which was a huge success for us to be able to reach people at a time when we had some limited services. But digital access, right? You need internet. Good question. We were able to also roll out our hotspots. So there's hotspots patrons can check out for, we can take home and have connections. So we had students who were using that. Right now, we have a lot of people who are coming new to the community and coming to the library looking for movies because they don't have their internet set up yet. And we say, oh, did you know we have hotspots you can take home? So that's been a cool connection we could make for new Painesville residents. We also have our Wi-Fi connection that actually does extend outside the building. So I know there's been people who come in and sit outside and use our Wi-Fi. So you can see for Great River, total the wireless connections we use there. And then also regionally for the physical spaces we have, or physical collection. In mid-2019, we actually went fines-free for juvenile, and across the region, we've seen an increase in circulation, and that has been especially in Painesville. Some of our percentages have nearly doubled, and it's increased across all of our juvenile collection, board books, picture books, beginning readers, fiction books and nonfiction, guys. So we've been addressing that in some of our spaces, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So now in January of this year, we actually eliminated all overdue fines for everyone. And so we're excited to see how that's going to impact our circulation. For Painesville specifically, COVID really showed us kind of our areas of improvement. So I know we lost our computer spaces, and mostly for these social distancing. So we were only able to offer one computer at a time. Our seating spaces were gone, and so you could see the lack of people being able to come in and sit down and socialize and just use our space to be. And then also our staff areas that we had to expand out into public spaces and lose some of that area, which we haven't actually given back yet, but we have a new collection coming, which I'll mention later, and we will be using that space again. So one of the things we did in Painesville then, because of our jump in juvenile, we really revitalized our collection and looked at what we had. So we added collections to our picture books and easy books and just refreshing what we had, because we had homeschool groups who were taking home boxes of books. You know, after a while, they've read everything in the library, so keeping up that collection rotation was really important. We also opened up and rearranged our space, so now it's a lot more easier to browse. There's seating there, so we've got families coming in for play dates now. I know, Sean, you saw last weekend, and the same this weekend, we've had more families coming in just to sit down and play, and just interactive spaces, so that's been awesome to see. We also included an express checkout, so when we run into lines or having to help people with questions, because we do a lot more of like in-depth either researching or looking up items, then people can actually go and use our self-checkout as well. So that's been a new thing. Our second focus was really on community engagement. So when people couldn't come in or had limited for spaces, we've really been utilizing our community spaces and outdoor offerings. So using the park across from the elementary for our story strolls, which if you guys haven't seen, it's just literally a giant picture book that we take apart, laminate, stick on boards, and you stick it along the sidewalks so people can walk and read. So we had classes coming over to read those. We also went in and did scavenger hunts out in the nature park and in collaboration with the Crow Guards. So that was a fun thing to get people out and walking in the parks. We did some paper planes or some legacy funded programs out in the parks. So we had groups coming for that. And so it was a lot more just visibility out in the community, which was great to offer. We also reach people online, so we have a Facebook account. I don't know if everyone's seen that, but we've doubled our followers since 2020, and so we get to promote some of our events that are coming on, our lesser-known services. And we get to do some fun stuff, like we did a book battle recently, which had a lot of online voting, and we did in September, we did name the band book or the band character or whatever, and that got a lot of interaction with patrons online as well. And both of our reading programs, annual reading programs, have been huge. We have a winter reading program that we do for teens and adults. And I'll do the comparative stats again. In 2019, we had like 17 people register. In 2021, we had 70. And then this current year, we actually had almost 100 that were participating in that. So that engagement's been great. And for summer reading program, we've actually managed to get back up to the average use for kids, teens, and toddlers and kids. But our return for how much kids were actually participating was huge. It doubled any of our previous big goals. So we had a lot more kids returning more, reading more, doing activities, that sort of thing. So it was great to see. Looking forward, we are excited to be able to offer a new collection coming up soon, and that's actually in collaboration with the Painesville Lions, and Bill has been our liaison for that. We're going to be offering a toy collection. I think we're going to call it Play to Learn, and it has a focus on toys that, let's see, how do we put this? So we have busy boards, we have geo boards, we have the puzzles and maps, we have the balancing stones. The toys that have a component to learn, to do the early learning skills, to do the school readiness skills, and that's a component we're going to be adding to these sets. So parents can actually check them out for a week, and then once the kids lose interest, and they get to return them and check something else out. So that's been something we've been excited for, and we've had parents who've heard about it and are excited for us to offer that. So thank you to the Lions and Bill for helping us get that. It's been a 2-year project, so there will be more. We're also excited to start building our borrower numbers better with the school and our reciprocal borrowers. And those are the borrowers that are outside of Great River's service area, which is Stearns County. So the people that right across that border, that's like 10 minutes away, we have a bit of a difficult relationship right now, trying to get people who are in our service area but need to get a library card from someone else before they can use some of our services. So we're trying to make that easier to bump up our numbers and build back our numbers again. And of course, we are also excited for the possibility of new space, and I just wanted to say thank you so much to our community groups, to our Friends of the Library, Pat's here, and to the city. It's been amazing just seeing the work that you guys have been doing and just the excitement for the project. So I'm really excited, and thank you so much. And finally, I just wanted to say thank you to Ron and the Public Works guys. It's been great for the winter. They always have our snow cleared and our sidewalks cleared, and I've been working on the building projects. I can tell with the new lighting, it brightened up the space, and he added a ramp in our back door so our delivery drivers don't have to haul those carts over the lips. And just they're always quick to respond for everything we need, whether it's as small or essential as needing toilet paper, or, hey, our furnace just got fried, and getting someone in to come fix it. So thank you so much for the work you've been doing for us at the library, too. And I will let you guys get back to business. Thank you so much for listening. Is there any questions, I guess?
Yeah, before you step down, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So I was there, like you said, a few weeks ago, and the place was just packed to the gills. And I know you said that was the busiest you'd ever seen it in years, and I know you were getting a little emotional. And it was,
Before the pandemic, I was like, oh my gosh.
Has it continued?
Yeah, we've seen a bump in numbers, and especially the families coming in. Again, this Saturday, I had a bunch of families coming in. We put up a drawing board, and we had paper across the floor, and the kids were coloring together and making up an adventures. It was awesome.
And then one of the things that, there's a lot of talk of, as we think about an expansion, is a library is just a dusty depository for books. And you've talked a lot about what the library offers other than books, but I'm just curious, two things. How are book numbers comparing roughly? Are you still seeing those being checked out, and how so? And then second, what is Great River doing to make sure that we continue to meet people where they are as far as what they need?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for throwing you under the bus on that without giving you a heads up that I'd ask.
No, it's going okay. I'll be honest, our numbers took a hit from COVID. We saw, of course, a drop in 2020, and then it did increase towards the end of 2020, and then 2021, for some reason, our numbers have just been kind of not back up to where they were prior to 2020. So that's one thing we need to build back. And there's many reasons why they could have dropped or whatever. We had Gretchen pass away, and she had connections all over, the community. And I know that's one thing we lost, and that's something I'm trying to build back, but it's going to take some time. And so there's a lot of things. We have a lot of ideas for what we can do and what we can reach out to the community and connect with. And it's just going to take some time, I think, to make those connections. And everyone's like, oh, things are back to normal, and it's just starting to feel like a little bit more normal than what things were. So, and just to reach out to the community, I guess I highlighted some of the online and access, and I guess that's kind of where needs were being met initially. I know one of the focuses that we've been talking about is we offer a lot of programming, and there's a lot of fun stuff that we do, but we want to, instead of taking up time doing a lot of crafty stuff, we want to actually take the time and focus more on programming that will benefit the community with what they need. So even if it's digital literacy classes, if it's, I'm not sure, we're still trying to evaluate what we actually need, but focusing on the needs of the community to be met with programming versus just fun stuff. Fun stuff is always great. We bring people in, but that is a focus we want to kind of switch to a little bit more, to bring that in. We are actually, I didn't mention this, we do have locally grown going on right now, where we're raising the funds to purchase a special collection. That's what we were talking about. And that's actually to meet a gap. We're trying to get Playaways. And it's an audiobook that does not require an app, and it does not require a CD player. Because with apps, we're finding people are no longer buying CD players, but without CD players, some people don't know how to access the online services. Or people just, they just need an audio version of books to process them or whatever. There's a whole bunch of needs for that. So there's this gap that we're trying to fill with these play-away books. And we're actually also thinking if we raise enough money, we'll expand to Wonder Books, which also include a print and audio for kids, especially for those beginning readers who get that auditory, multi-sensory kind of learning and learn that geography is actually pronounced geography from hearing it read to them, that kind of thing. So that's a gap that we're trying to fill with some collections this year, and there's some other libraries who are filling that as well, so we'll have more to pull from. I don't know, did that kind of answer your question?
It did.
Or just kind of mumble around that?
Yep, and I don't have any other questions. I'll look to the other council, but before I do, I just want to say
Yeah.
thank you for all of the work that you do with the library. I know Gretchen was a huge loss and left huge shoes to fill, but you're filling them wonderfully. I'm very grateful to have you running our library. I think it's awesome. I didn't think that my kids would be going, Daddy, we need to go to the library on a Saturday morning. In fact, sometimes the only place they want to go more than the library is the super big library in St. Cloud.
Yep.
So there's another plug for expansion here.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
thanks, Kateri.
Thank you, yeah.
Any other questions for Kateri?
If the numbers are up or full, can we expand hours? Because weren't they cut back or?
No, we actually expanded our hours a little bit. We added like 2 hours for this year. But yeah, we've expanded a
I mean,
little bit.
if we're full and we need, that's the next step, I would say, to expand hours.
Yeah, well, and then part of that is also expanding for staff. So for us, this is kind of a weird way to put it. We actually lost the number of staff, but the staff got to increase their hours, so it was more beneficial for the staff we had. But that also makes it a little more difficult, like overlapping staff and shifts and stuff like that. So that was one of the challenges we had, and why we also added express checkout, because we didn't have as many staff in the building at one time, which we don't currently kind of have room for, so that's what we're okay with that right now. But that would be one of the other things, to add staffing hours for that, if that's kind of makes sense.
Any other questions for Kateri? Thanks so much for coming and being here. I appreciate hearing from you.
Thank you so much.
If you don't want to leave, I will suggest that we bump up old business item I to now, which is the library relocation funding request. I'm guessing that Pat and Tess are here for that.
We just want to clap and smile, I hope.
Well, I mean, I didn't know. I thought maybe you were here just for the informational blurb at the end, so I didn't want to assume.
Nope, just
So if there are no objections, I think let's just pull that up since we have some people here for that. So I'm looking then at old business item I, which is page 68 of our agenda. This is something we talked about at our working session. The request from the Friends of the Library for some additional funds to conduct a study of the suitability of the Washburn Court building along with possibly City Hall as to whether or not either one or both of those buildings would work for an expanded library space. That's something we discussed at the working session. I think there was a consensus to move forward with this. So we'd be looking for a motion to authorize that, and then a discussion about where the money would come from, which fund.
I'll move to authorize $3,000 for the Washburn Court Building Assessment and Suitability Review to be conducted by Bolton and Mink, with funds to come from blank.
We have to fill in that blank.
Yes.
So perhaps, if you don't mind, I'm just going to let your motion die for lack of a second. Let's talk about the blank, and
I
then
didn't know if you had to do that after, when you asked for
we'll rewrite the
discussion.
motion. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. Have you, Tarek, have you had any discussions with Belinda about possible sources for this?
No, but I think capital improvement will be,
I think so too. Is there enough in the library's capital improvement fund at the moment?
well, I don't know what's in there. I haven't checked that.
What? Yes, Neil?
What about the township? Would they be interested in helping on the study, or? I mean, this is a big area type library, not just city. actually multiple townships, but
Ron?
The municipal building capital improvements currently sitting at just over $11,000.
So this is a good chunk of that. Thank you. Maybe the liquor store wants to pay for it. Bill's not here to fight us on that.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say, otherwise, EDAP might be an option too.
I think EDAP would be a good option for it.
That was my first thought.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion along these lines. And it's a question for you, Chuck. It says here that and the scope of the work is actually two parts to it. One is for $8,500, the other one's for $2,500. Would it be possible to split these into two? Because if you find something wrong with the review of the improvements and the structure summary and everything, maybe it would be a good idea to get that done first? Would that be possible?
Yeah, I mean, we could have it completed however you guys prefer. We could split it into two tasks.
Yeah, because if we find something structurally wrong or what have you, that's going to change the whole outlook of this, it might be better to know beforehand than afterwards. So that's my suggestion.
My thought, going back to Neil's suggestion on the township involvement, if we get to the point where we're looking at definite expansion, then we for sure will need to get township buy-in. But right now, we're talking about 3,000, which I don't want to minimize, but in the grand scheme of things is not a huge chunk of money. But I do recognize that it is taxpayer dollars, not my own. For this purpose, I'm fine with moving forward alone for the city, knowing that we're gonna have to get township involvement when we get to actual expansion. I like Gene's idea of using EDAP funds. There's what, 450,000 in that?
Something like that.
Something like that. So that has ample money, and I think
And then it's not taxpayer dollars either.
it's not taxpayer dollars, right? Different funding source, and I do think that this fits with economic development.
It does?
like the incubator thing, that fits right in there. So
Yeah, I think so.
makes sense to me.
I agree.
Okay. So, Councilmember Brick, would you like to
Yes.
renew your motion with
Yes.
EDAP
I
funds?
jumped the gun, I was so excited. I'd like to move to authorize $3,000 for the Washburn Court Building Assessment and Suitability Review to be conducted by Bolton and Mink, with funds to come from EDAP.
Okay. I have a motion by Brick, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Soini, as stated on the action sheet, with the funds to come from the EDAP fund. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? One opposed, thank you. So that does carry. All right, so we will get that taken care of, and we can start moving forward with the study.
Still.
All right, so then we will go back up to our new business. Item D, the memorandum of understanding from the police union.
It takes a long time to get from one section to another.
It does take a long time to get from one section to another. Why does the mayor jump around like that? Oh, well. All right. You want to talk about what's going on with this?
Yeah, there are two things that we noticed in the union contract with the police. Number one is we had discussed and agreed to allowing for court time or cancellation time if the officer was called up for court and it got canceled within 24 hours, there would be paid an hour of pay time at regular pay. We discussed it, we agreed to it, but it wasn't reflected in the final agreement. So we want to add that back in there. And then also, when we're doing payroll, the step increases for everybody else is, we want to align it with everyone else at January 1st versus on their anniversary date. The reason being that it's kind of a administrative headache to kind of remember or have a call in there for everybody's anniversary date because the system isn't set up that way. So if everybody align with payroll the way it is now, it would be January 1st, and that's what we want to add in there. So those are the two items that are in that memorandum, which the union sent us for approval.
Right.
And this isn't anything new, it was kind of approved in negotiations.
The cancellation time, yes, that was already approved, it just wasn't reflected in there. And then the step increase January 1st versus anniversary date, that's something that we just felt it should be in there because it will align with everybody else.
I'll make the motion to approve the MOU between the City of Painesville and Law Enforcement Labor Services Incorporated, number 948, LELS.
I have a motion by Hertzberg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Soini. Motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the city and the LELS Labor Union. Any further discussion on that? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? That carries. Okay. Crack sealing project. Ron or Chuck, one of you talk to us about
All
that?
right, thank you. Crack sealing, we do this every spring, and obviously the reason is to try to prevent any water from penetrating into our streets. We did get 3 prices, and the low being Midwest Asphalt from Belgrade at $1.38 per pound. Last year, they were at $1.36, I believe it was. So they did not see a big increase. I don't know if they got excess material or just went out and purchased a bunch. Total estimated cost is just over $12,000, or $12,420, I should say. Public Works did review this and has recommended it.
And that's included in the budget, Ron?
Yes, it is.
I will say, having driven on St. Paul roads today, yeah, let's definitely keep doing this.
23 is not so good either.
All right, so if there's no further discussion, we'd be looking for a motion regarding the crack sealing bids.
I'll make the motion to approve the quote from Midwest Asphalt in the amount of $1.38 per pound for 9,000 pounds of material.
Okay, I have a motion by Thielen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hertzberg to approve the quote from Midwest Asphalt in the amount of $1.38 per pound for 9,000 pounds of material. Any further discussion on that? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? That carries. Okay, Chief, you want to sell a car?
I do. We have a very stylish 1999 Mercury Grand Marquis that the police department forfeited as part of from an individual with a DWI. That case has gone through the process and the vehicle has been titled to the city, so we would like to sell it as quickly as possible.
And the proposal is through min bid, which we've used before and had some relative success with, correct?
Correct. I don't expect a lot from this one, but
Well, there's a typographical error in here, too. It says on the board council action, it says 1999 Pontiac Grand Marquis. It should say Ford.
Mercury.
Mercury.
Excuse me, Mercury. Okay,
It's correct on top.
Yeah.
right.
It might surprise you, Paul. I think those cars have more of a following than you or I could imagine sometimes. I saw a news article that a 2000 Ford Excursion sold for $67,000.
Oh,
No, fingers crossed.
Yes.
That would help somebody's budget.
So, we're looking for a motion to approve the sale through min bid, if anyone's willing to so make.
Also move.
Okay. I have a motion by Soini. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick to approve the sale of a 1999 Mercury Grand Marquis via min bid online auction, accepting the highest bid with the funds being split according to the statute. Any further discussion on this? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? That carries. Okay. Okay, moving on to old business, item A, the food truck ordinance. This was brought back from our last council meeting with some corrections. And then Bill emailed us on Friday. He found a typo in the changes that I made. I don't know if, Bill, if you want to talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I just thought in 14, number 2, it should say the brick and mortar restaurant is closed. But then I didn't know about the rest of it. It seemed a little confusing, but
Yes.
The rest of it after closed, I thought there could almost be a period after the word closed. I didn't know if the rest of that added much, but it's okay. I mean, it was confusing to me.
I have no issue with removing the added, or so from the additions there, removing the word not and then just placing a period. I agree that, I think that would maintain the rest of it. All right, so this is something that we've had some extensive discussions about. Wanted to take action on it, we'd be looking to do so tonight. Approve it.
I have a couple questions on page 21, section 10170, we had discussion on what license they needed to operate in Painesville. And do you need the Stearns County license or just the state, either or what determination do we come up with?
I called to check. You need the Stearns County license.
You need the Stearns County license, period?
You need the Stearns County license unless you can get by with the one from the Department of Ag, which is certain limited circumstances, but generally you need the Stearns County one to operate anywhere in Stearns County, except the city of St. Cloud, which has their own.
I think we should make it 10170, must have Stearns County license. Is that appropriate?
Well, if it's required, then we're in Stearns County.
What are the limited circumstances where it doesn't apply?
I think you need the one from the Department of Ag, like if you're just serving ice cream or food you don't have to prepare.
Mini donuts, he said last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, so you could, there's circumstances where you'd need the one from Stearns County and possibly the Department of Ag. So, I mean, both of those are still possibilities. If you wanted to change 170 to say Stearns County or the Minnesota Department of Ag, I suppose you could, but I think you need to still have the reference.
Right, because a mini donut truck could get by with just that. But now the food trucks must be Stearns County.
If you're, yeah, I mean, well, I guess mini donuts are food, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know how the line is
Well,
drawn.
Brian explained it, if the sales were 30% or less meat, you could get by with a Department of Ag.
Yeah, so you can have a food truck and you can still have a Department of Ag license. I mean, so.
If your sales are 30% or less meat.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's,
So I don't have a problem with 170 the way it is. I
Okay.
mean, there is a Minnesota license that you could have. I mean, I think it's correct. If you want to be more precise, you could say Minnesota Department of Agriculture. That's what it says in,
It's still a state license,
yeah.
still from the state of Minnesota.
and then I went to page 22, 10173, number 4. So on your form, the only one that has to write down where they're gonna be and everything is your 7-day license? Because the 30-day or the unconditional, I don't believe. Reading it, I kinda,
Well, in number 3, it says, the plan says that they need the description of, or the location of sites, or do you just mean like a number of days? Are there
well, the
requirements in there?
license is for a 7-day. So I think that's the only one that has to tell you what they're doing. Or not?
I think it would be the 7 and the 30.
The
But
30
you
also
only have
does?
to provide dates for up to 7.
And on the application, there's a section that says application must include, and one of them is a plan that includes the number of off-street parking spaces, description of food truck, and then location of sites where the food truck will be set up.
But that's not reasonable for the unlimited. Because they don't know now where they're gonna be in October.
Not unless they've already have figured out their. And we
I would
can,
anticipate if somebody's coming to town, and maybe I'm wrong, but how I envision it is they'd apply for a permit and they know one of these 5 spots might be where I park, and see where the spot's open on any given day.
Well, I'm just saying the unlimited
Right.
license, you probably don't know today what you're gonna be doing.
And they couldn't,
Right.
they probably couldn't do that.
Yeah, you might have an idea of where you might be one of 3 or 4 locations, but you would know definitively probably what to put out. And any one could be taken up at any given moment if somebody parks their car there in the morning. But
Yeah.
And I'm on page 23, 10-175 on fee standards. In residential, you can only be in the same area or home 7 days.
yes.
So what about your own home? Can they operate out of their front yard at their own home?
No,
I would say no.
And then we should probably list that. Because in the past, this has been done.
yeah, but they can only do 7 days in a residential.
Correct, but I'm wondering if you can do any days from your own home.
Not more than 7.
No,
I mean,
Well,
you
you can do 7.
can do up to
I
7.
mean, the way this reads, you could do 7 in your front yard.
well, not in your yard, it has to be on a road.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, you could, but only.
okay, as long as it's on the street like okay.
Yeah.
But then on page 24, 14, we talked a little bit, and last meeting, when we said if brick and mortar is closed, it doesn't affect the food truck. At the time, I thought that made sense, and I've changed my mind. Your brick and mortars pay taxes 365 days a year. And even if they're open or closed, I believe they're entitled to that 150 feet. Because if they're closed, the way this is written, if that food truck wanted to park right outside their front door, they probably could. And right now, everybody knows it's hard to find help. Good help is almost impossible. And that's the reason some of these establishments are closed 1 or 2 days a week, because they need a day off for themselves and cannot find help. So I think I will not vote on less than 150 feet. Open or closed.
Yeah, close or open, okay.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Neil on that.
It's basically to respect the brick and mortar and what they pay for taxation, and they are entitled to 150 feet.
So remove number 2 completely, and then remove number 1 because it's going to be the only one there.
I see the purpose of the 150 feet or whatever distance it might be to prevent unfair competition while the business is open. And I understand staffing issues. Yes, absolutely, business owners deserve time off. But if staffing issues resolve and something can be open, then that food truck wouldn't be allowed to operate.
Right.
And Doris, I'm just going to use you as an example because you're sitting right in front of me, and I know that you're closed on Sundays right now for family time. If you can open up for Sunday breakfast, that food truck can't be there, whether it's advertised the day before or a month before or not advertised at all. If that situation resolves, those doors are open, the truck can't be there.
if you go to number 23, we discussed this. Food trucks cannot be located within 60 feet of an intersection. So if you go from my intersection on Old 23, they cannot basically be on that street at all. And then if you come down here and you go 60 feet on James Street back, they can't come to my door neither. They cannot be.
So that doesn't matter if you're open or closed, I still.
No, they
Right.
cannot be close because of the intersections are there.
Right.
So that doesn't matter.
Well, they just need to, it will be enforced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not passing something that's not gonna be enforced. And I'm looking past you now, Doris.
I know, I'm looking at you.
That means as you
So
go down
excited.
to the post office also,
Mhm.
to James Street, it
Yep.
runs 60 feet.
Um,
Open or closed.
I'm going to make the motion with a number of amendments to the ordinance, and Jennifer, I promise I will go slow. Okay. I am going to make a motion to approve ordinance number 34, third series, amending section 10-170, the last part, which says the state of Minnesota, and changing the words state of Minnesota to Minnesota Department of Agriculture. And amending section 10-175, parent B, parent 14, starting at subpart 2. So that subpart 2 reads, "The brick and mortar restaurant is closed, period." And then the rest would remain for purposes of this provision, etc. So it's only changing the underlined portion of section 2. That is my motion. If anybody has questions for me, or if there's a second.
I'll second.
I have a second by Brick. Just gonna wait a second for Jennifer's benefit.
Good.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing anything. So I have a motion to amend, or to approve ordinance number 34, third series, largely as presented, but amending section 10-170 to reflect Department of Agriculture instead of State of Minnesota, and section 174, paragraph 14 in there, to say the brick and mortar restaurant is closed, period, and eliminating the rest of the underlined language. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Aye. One opposed, that does carry 4-1. Thank you. Great. I don't believe, based on those amendments, that we would need to change anything in the official summary. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve the summary.
I'll make the motion to approve the official summary of ordinance number 34, third series.
I have a motion by Soini. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Field to approve the summary of the ordinance. Any further discussion on that? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Aye. Aye. I'm opposed. Thank you. That does carry. And then we'd be looking for a motion to approve the food truck license application.
I'll move to approve the mobile food truck license application.
I have a motion by Brick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Soini. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. All right. One. Moving on then to the Ampey Park grant. Ron, Tarek.
I guess I can start. The park board is looking to submit a grant application, and that is through the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources and the Outdoor Recreational Program. The schedule for that is March 31st is the deadline on it. Awards would be sometime in July, and we would need agreement sometime in October, November with the completion of the project and June 30th of 2024. What we're looking at putting up is a open-air shelter with a kitchen and restrooms. The shelter area will be roughly 36 by 32, seating capacity of about 60, 65 people right in there. Kitchen, very similar to what we would have out at Veterans Park, 14 by 20, and restrooms roughly 20 by 26. We got some hard costs in there. I guess if we were building this today, our hard costs would be about $290,000. However, that is without architects and engineers, and so they will need their cut. And we're also looking at what's inflation going to do, because this would be a 2023 build. So we're looking at that extra. So the grant would cover half of that, which would be $190,000. Currently with the 2022 CIP, we would have about $65,000 in the CIP. And then we have talked to Painesville Township and the Lions Club, and also we're looking at applying for the Painesville Community Foundation, see if we can solicit some donations from that. With the 65 we currently have, plus if we match in 2023, we would have roughly $100,000 of our own funds, and so we would need to fundraise an additional $25,000, which I would hope we could easily do between those entities.
Yep.
If somebody's looking to go through the entire packet, we do got it here. It is quite an extensive application by the time we have all the submittals out there. So, other than that, the Park Board has recommended moving forward with the application. And I don't know, Chuck or Targ, you want to add anything to it?
No, I think, I appreciate everybody's work on this, and I hope, Chuck, we're ready to submit.
Yeah, it's pretty much ready to go. Once we have the resolution, we'll get the final packet put together, ready to.
I was gonna say, can you get it done in 3 days, but it's already done. I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 2022-10, authorizing application for grant and execution of grant agreements as necessary.
Second.
I have a motion by Soini, seconded by Hertzberg, to approve Resolution 2022-10, authorizing the application for grant and execution of the same. Any further discussion on that? None. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. That carries. Before we move on, I will just say, since we have two Lions members here, that I am ever grateful for the ongoing support of the Lions Club for all things related to the city. Not only the support in monetary needs, but the time given by all of the Lions members to all of this stuff. So thank you very much. All right, moving on then. Item C, the Source Water Protection Plan Implementation Grant on page 45. Ron.
Yes, thank you again. Normally each year, this is the one we do apply for the Water Festival. However, the timing did not work out for that. Looking through our wellhead protection plan, one of the items we do have in there is getting a standby power unit on well number 8. We will break this up into 2 applications as the cost exceeds $10,000. So at this time, we're going to be asking for the transfer switch and getting the concrete pad in there and possibly getting the gas up to the site. And next round, we would apply for the actual generator. So,
Ron, how much is a generator roughly?
a generator of this size, I'm going to guess in today, probably about 20,000. So we will need to supplement that with some of our local money, but they do allow you to do 2 applications for this item.
I'll make the motion to approve and submit the attached Minnesota Department of Health Source Water Protection Plan Implementation Grant Application.
I have a motion by Hertzberg. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick. To approve and submit the attached Department of Health Source Water Protection Plan Implementation Grant Application. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. That carries. All right, Ron, the shop remodel.
Okay, we did get the last two items, that is the plumbing and the concrete work. We did get two prices, one from Voss and Gilt being the low at $51,228. And on the concrete, Voss was low at $44,455. That totals up to $95,683 previously. With the other items we had, it was $94,987. For a total remodel estimate here will be $190,670. So if we add the $135 that we had on the purchase, we're right in that $325,000 for the shop, which is a long ways off the $3.5 million that we had talked about building a new one. So that's where it's at, and the Public Works did review it and has recommended approval. Again, we are taking a third from the water, a third from sewer, and street CIPs.
If there's no further discussion, we'll be looking for a motion as is stated on the action sheet.
I'll make the motion to approve the quotes from Gilt Plumbing and Heating for the plumbing and heating in the amount of $51,228, and Voss for the concrete work in the amount of $44,455.
And your motion also contemplates, I assume, taking it in equal parts from the respective funds.
Yep, the 3 CIPs.
I'll second.
Motion by Soini, seconded by Thielen, to approve the quotes from Gilt Plumbing and Heating for the plumbing portion and Voss for the concrete work, with the funds to be taken in equal parts from capital improvement plans. Any further discussion on that? None. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. That carries. Okay. Item E, the ARPA funds. Tarek, you want to talk to us a little bit about this?
Yeah, Belinda, she talked to the auditors about it. They're the ones that first brought to attention, saying that you can now, instead of looking for a project to apply it to, you can, if it's less than 10 million, which of course we're well under 10 million, put it in your general fund and use it for city business. However, you can't use it to pay off any debt or bonds or anything. That was also confirmed when we're at the MCFOA. The person that was presenting from the LLC, they also said that it's more advantageous for you to do it this way, because if you were to tie it to a project, you'd be required to do certain reporting as well. If you're to do it this way, the reporting is very minimal. So they are also suggesting that it go into the general fund for smaller towns.
There you go.
So we're looking for a motion to approve the resolution 2022-11, electing the standard allowance.
Yeah, can't go into reserves either.
Nope, cannot.
Okay. Motion to approve 2022-11 to elect the standard allowance available under the revenue loss provision of the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund established under the American Rescue Plan Act.
I have a motion by Soini. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hertzberg. Any further discussion? I will just add, Jennifer, I think this is on our agenda for the retreat. We wanted to spend this some way, right?
Yes, it is on
Okay. So we'll be talking
Isn't it about 124,000 or something?
like
So
270.
2021, this year's going to be a little bit more, maybe closer to 145, 150.
Okay,
So what's the total?
270.
270?
Eesh.
All right, so we have a motion, a statement on the action sheet, a second by Hertzberg. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None. water treatment plant repiping project. Chuck?
Yes, that water treatment plant repiping project is complete, and the contractor has addressed punch list items and submitted all the final paperwork. In your packet is a copy of the final pay request. In addition, there was an additional meter that was moved as part of the project, which increased the cost about $2,585, which is reflected in the $14,709 for part of the final payment for that project.
Be looking to approve payment estimate number 4. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve payment estimate number 4, final, in the amount of $14,709, payable to Rice Lake Construction.
We have a motion by Hertzberg. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick. Approving payment estimate number 4, the final payment estimate in the amount of $14,709, payable to Rice Lake Construction. Any further discussion on that? None. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. That carries. To letter G, hiring of full-time police officers. Chief?
Thank you. So as most of you know, March 1st, Policies and Procedures and myself did the second round of interviews with our applicants. From that process, we identified 5 applicants that we were willing to move on through the process and identified our top 3. With the resignation of Officer O'Brien, we started the background process on one of the candidates, Noah Omanik, probably butchering that. He has gone through the background, psychological and physical. There's been nothing that we have located or determined that would make him unqualified for the position. So I'm asking for approval to offer him the position effective immediately. We're also in the process of conducting the backgrounds on the other 2 applicants, Matt Greenberg and Logan Eck. They, however, are still in school and won't be out until May and July. So what I'm looking for there is basically a conditional offer to them that we can send them, letting them know that they do have a job as long as they pass their psychological, physical background and their post-test, and become eligible by September 1st. That way we can hopefully lock them in as applicants and officers for the department as we move through the rest of this year, and hopefully that it will keep them from seeking other employment as they push closer to graduation, knowing they have a job. The other 2 I would ask that we put on an eligibility list in case something comes up with with Mr. Eck and Mr. Wiedenberg.
One thing that I think about as we look at this, because we have budgeted for 4 full-time officers, and if we hire, stated on the action sheet, that brings us to 5. The budget for 4 was met with some, I don't think any of us liked doing it. We know that we wanted 5 officers, but the budget needs necessitated that we do so. Having interviewed the candidates and sitting on that committee, I think it makes sense to bring in these officers now and get us back up to that 5 mark, rather than decide at the end of the year that we want to get to 5 and open the pool back up and see what we might get. Mr. Madden Logan, because I'm going to pronounce his last name if I even try, were both, in my opinion, very worthy candidates. I think that they would both be very good additions to our team here in Paynesville. I don't think it's worth taking the chance, given the hiring situation in police right now, for us to want to wait on that. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. These are very good candidates, and I think that we should move forward with that expansion now, if that's something we ever want to do in the future.
Let me add one more thing to that. If we do hire these officers, as Chief Paul has suggested, we will still come in this year under budget, just because of the situation the department is in today with only 2 officers. So for this year, we will be under budget, but when it comes time to doing the budget for 2023, it will have to be approved for the 5 officers.
Yes.
And I would have to agree with that, so we don't have to rely on Stearns County, just in case.
With that, we have 3 proposed motions. I'd be looking for somebody to start us off here regarding Mr. Olmanek.
Yeah, I can make a motion to approve hiring Noah Almeniak as a full-time police officer at $25.56 per hour, grade 9, step 1, effective immediately.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Thielen, seconded by Brick, to hire Noah Olmanek as a full-time officer at grade 9, step 1, effective immediately. Any further discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. Regarding Misters Wiedenberg and Eck.
We're gonna have to ask him how to pronounce that name.
He told us, and you know,
Is it
that was all the way back at like March 1.
Which one, Breedenberg?
Yeah.
It's Breedenberg.
Friedenberg. Don't say the
Free.
B.
No, you do say the V.
Oh,
It's just very quick.
Friedenberg, okay.
Officer Matt.
Yeah.
I'll move to hire Matt Friedenberg and Logan Eck as full-time police officers at $25.56 per hour, grade 9, step 1, contingent on passing the physical exam, physical tests, psychological evaluations, background investigation, and the Minnesota Police Officer Standards and Training Test by September 1st, 2022, with anticipated start dates of June and August.
Second.
Motion by Brick, seconded by Soini, to extend offers to Matt Friedenberg and Logan Eck as full-time officers at grade 9, step 1, based on the conditions listed on the action sheet with start dates of June and August respectively. Any further discussion on that? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? That carries. Okay. And then regarding the eligibility list, these folks we did meet with, and we do think that they are worthy of placing on the list, so that we can look at them should we have another opening.
Make the motion to create an eligibility list and place Annabelle Ball and Carden Mueller on the list.
Motion by Soini, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hertzberg to create an eligibility list, placing Annabelle Ball and Carden Miller. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None? None carries. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That resolves that. Doris, you're being asked to wait. I think just specifically for what?
Right, just for one. But
All right, so with that, we do have 2 things that we'll be going into closed session for. I'll address them each as we go into them. The first is regarding the AMPI sewer and potential and threatened litigation relating to that. So with that, I will close our public meeting and go into closed session. Let's take just a quick 5-minute recess, and when we come back, we will be in closed session to discuss attorney-client privilege relating to pending or threatened litigation.
sounds good. Now you can come on.
public session. We met in a closed meeting for purposes of attorney-client privilege regarding the AMPI sewer and pending or threatened litigation. With that, we've discussed potential settlement options and instructed the city attorney to draft a settlement proposal for all parties to review, and then we can come back and make a formal motion to approve. Okay,
Very good.
all right, so then with that,
We're going to close now.
we are going to close again, this time to go into closed meeting to discuss making an offer on real property located at 311 Washburn Avenue, Painesville, with parcel number 70.39095.0005,
That sounds so bad.
70.39377.0000, 70.39388.0000, 70.39095.0000, and 70.39094.0000.
Did you repeat that?
Nope. So we will go into closed session to discuss those. 7:44, we're back in open session, having met in the closed session to discuss making the offer on the real property located at 311 Main Avenue in Painesville, with the parcel numbers listed on the action sheet and recited earlier. No, Megan, I won't do them again. So with that, we'd be looking for a motion to authorize the mayor to extend an offer informally to Centricare to purchase the properties.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Soini to authorize the mayor to extend an informal offer to Centricare for the purchase of the properties. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed? None? Carries. All right. Then I skipped over the informational stuff earlier. We just have our investment reports on the website, the liquor store report, the insurance letter from American Water Resources, which Ron talked about earlier, noting that that is not in any way sponsored by the city. That is some private spam or junk or solicitation, whatever you want to call it, along with the garbage rate, the media rate, MediaCom rate notice, and our meeting schedules. And we stand adjourned.